There we go with Moonlights, all right, in the golden tones of Bruce Blackman. Good morning, Bruce Blackman. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine.
I tell you, we connected up, a couple of weeks ago on, I think through Facebook or something like that. And I was kind of like, this is so cool because your record was one of my favorite records when I was working over at WIS Radio. We played it. Of course, being on a Southern station, we love that line. Go ahead and give me the line. You play the Southern stations?
The radio on Southern stations.
That's right. Man, I was... to kind of get things started here, I was reading the first chapter of your book, and you were telling the story about how you first went on stage in the big time with ELO, fronting opening act for ELO. Was that in Birmingham?
Yeah, Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah. Tell us about your story about meeting the lead singer of ELO and the interaction with him. I think is so great. Go ahead and tell that story. I think it's wonderful.
Well, it was Jeff Lynne, and we were I was sitting backstage on a Anvil Road case, and he came out and sat down and was talking to me. He was very, very pleasant, English accent, and he asked about why we had so many synthesizers on the stage. We had 6 mini modes. That's mini mode only play one note at a time, so it took 6 of them to play all the parts in Moonlight Feels Right. And I told him, I said, it was because of the song. And he said, which song was that? And I said, Moonlight Feels Right. And he says, he said, yes, the mallets. Mallets. He the marimba. He was talking about the marimba.
Yeah.
He really liked it. But I had a very nice, pleasant conversation with Jeff Lynne. I was scared to death. I mean, it was like I was meeting the Pope or something,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of got you on your way, and then you've also toured with a whole bunch of guys out there, like KC and the Sunshine Band, Hollow Notes, England Dan and John Ford Coley, Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've been on several TV shows too over the years, right?
Well, let's see. We did Bandstand, Merv Griffin, Dinah Shore, Mike Douglas, Midnight Special, Solid Gold, Gun Kirshner's in Concert. I don't know. There may be some others. I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yeah. So I in case people wonder what a marimba is, it's like a xylophone, but it has wooden bars instead of steel bars.
Yeah. Bo Wagner was our marimba player, greatest marimba player on the planet by far. Today, the music departments in just about every university in the United States uses that as the PhD of mallet playing, but a marimba, Bo played a grand marimba, and the bottom, the bars are wooden, and the ones on the bottom are like 12 inches long and 2 inches thick. It's an acoustic instrument that has to be mic'd.
Yeah. The band was active from about 74 through 80 or 81 or.
Yeah. 74 through 80.
Through 80. Well, that's right, because by the time 80 came around, you had gone with another group called Corona.
Really, it wasn't even a group. It was just me. See, our record company, Private Stock, went out of business. This is our second album came out. Our second song, a song, Everybody Be Dancing, was at number 38 with a bullet in Billboard. And Private Stock just folded up, disappeared. So, everything, of course, fell apart. Then we got a new deal with United Artists. And we did a third album called Searching for a Thrill. And then United Artists got sold out to another investment group, and they dropped Starbuck. So after that, I went in the studio here in Atlanta, just with Studio Cat, and just called it Corona. And ended up getting a deal with the new version of United Artists, who had just dropped Starbuck.
Yeah,
except they had new management now.
But your song "Let It Be Me" or "Let Me Be" made it all the way to 43 on the Billboard Hot 100.
Yeah, almost made top 40. Almost did.
And for my listeners, I will tell you, I've got a copy of that song, and I will be playing it next week. So there you go. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So. I know we've lost your marimba player. Bo Wagner passed away on June 20th, 2017. So that unique sound I don't think will ever be captured again because Bo was such a virtuoso on that thing.
Yeah, I doubt it. It's very. See, we put the group together, Bo and I, in the first version of Starbuck in 1970. That's when we put it together, and the whole point was I had been in a group called Eternity's Children before that, and my first chart record, which was Mrs. Bluebird, that I wrote, but it went to like number 53. And a
note to our listeners.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, and note to our listeners, we got that one too. That'll be played next week as well.
Well, so when I left the group, the management, we had bad management. It was just a nightmare. We were living like refugees. We did bandstand. We went to play with Eric Burden and the Animals and the Blues Magoos and Strawberry Alarm Clock and all that stuff. And but we were just living like dogs. I left the group. Well, then Bo Wagner comes into that group. Mm-hmm. Well, the reason he joined is because he liked the songs they were recording. And when he found out the guy who wrote the songs left the band, he quit.
Oh, no.
Airboat helicopter coming over. Mm. Well, then somehow he found me in Atlanta, and he was touring with Liberace. He was Liberace's music director.
Oh, my goodness.
So he called us, and me and my wife went down to see the Liberace show. We didn't particularly want to see it, but he said, you can come backstage and all that. So Bo talked to me about putting my songs and then using his marimba and vibes. And so we did. And we immediately got after 2 weeks, got a record deal in Nashville. Bo had played on the Association record, Along Comes Mary and Cherish and that stuff.
Was he by any chance a member of the Wrecking Crew? Or did he play with them, or was it just another group of independent session musicians?
No, he wasn't a member of the Wrecking Crew, but he was part of the Bakersfield.
Oh, yeah.
Thing was happening then when Gary Paxton was one of the top producers. Mm-hmm. So Gary Paxton had moved to Nashville. So we went to Nashville and recorded an album, got a deal with RCA. And the name of the group was Mississippi. Mm-hmm. Well, RCA comes to us and said they were going to be signing a group from Australia named Mississippi. So we had to change our name.
Oh, yeah.
So then that's when we changed the name to Starbuck. That was because I had recently reread Moby Dick, and there was a character in there named Starbuck. I thought that was a cool name. And then the group from Australia that was called Mississippi changed their name to the Little River Band.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. It's funny how all that kind of stuff just swirls around each other back in the days.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Excuse me. I do want to mention that you were, I mentioned it earlier, but I'm going to mention it again, that you were inducted into the Mississippi Writers Garden on April 5th, 2014. And this is for your songwriting, right?
Yeah.
Yep. You also have a book out called The Road to Moonlight Feels Right. And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's because Moonlight, what we went through in getting there was such an unusual story. Actually, I never even thought about writing a book, but a book publisher called me, said they wanted me to write a book. And I said, I've never written a book. And they said, oh, yes, you have. We've been reading your Facebook posts.
Yeah, there you go.
I said, okay, so I just expanded on a lot of the stories and stuff I'd put on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty much it. It just tells the story of Starbuck, how we got together, a lot of unusual things in there, and that happened. And it's an adult book, that's for sure.
Oh, I gathered that from the first chapter.
But we've done very well with it.
Yeah. And speaking of adults, the adult in the room was your dear wife, Peggy.
Yes.
Yeah, you were married at the time you formed the group too, weren't you?
Yeah. I wrote Moonlight Feels Right in 1974. Mm-hmm. And the song is actually a true story about me meeting my wife, Peggy, when we were in college.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. That's, saw this stunningly gorgeous girl on campus, asked her out twice. She said no. She was dating a big-time football player from Ole Miss. And the third time I asked, I figured, 3 strikes and you're out. And go for it. So she said yes.
Oh, wow.
So we ended up becoming an item. And then one night we went out to a lake. I had an old ragged out MGB convertible. Mm-hmm. And we went out to a lake in Mississippi and dropped the top. And you could see the moon reflecting off of the water. And that's basically where the song came from, although I couldn't say it and drop the top at a lake in Mississippi. So I changed it to drop the top at Chesapeake Bay, which led to everybody thinking I came from Baltimore, because I said, you say you came to Baltimore from Ole Miss. That was a reference from her to her dating the football player from Ole Miss who was from Baltimore.
Oh, that's interesting. So there's a lot of history in that one song.
Yeah, it's pretty much a true story. Yeah.
So that song reached number 3, but at the time you got together with ELO, the song was number 1 in Birmingham, wasn't it?
Yeah. That's where it first broke out. See, Bo and I, when the record came out in September of 1975, absolutely nothing happened. So Bo and I decided we were going to go out and try to promote it. Well, the record company wouldn't even give us singles, so we bought 500 singles from our record company.
Oh, my goodness.
And we went out, and Bo went to South Carolina. Mm-hmm. In fact, he even came to Columbia.
Oh, wow.
He went to South Carolina, North Carolina, some of Florida. I did Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and we just pull in a town. This is pre-internet, we just pull into a town, look for a radio tower. Mm-hmm. Then dial them in, see if the format fitted us. If it did, we'd go. Well, I was coming back. I had one record left. Now, all the little stations were adding the record. There's hundreds of them. But it wasn't enough to move the needle. And I had one record left. And going through Birmingham, was a big station there, well-known. Mike St. John's the program director, and he was well-respected in the business, and everybody thought he had the ears. Mm-hmm. What the hit's going to be. So I had one left. So I said, the worst thing to do is say, get out of here. So I stopped. He was very nice to me. Played the record. He said, man, this is a great song. He said, this is not a fall winter record. This is a spring record. I'll put it on next spring. Mm-hmm. I thought that was just a nice way of saying,
go away.
No. Well, 6 months later, he put it on the air in Birmingham, and it absolutely blew up. And that's when we got the call to come open we were playing at a strip club in Atlanta for almost no money, close to breaking up. And that's when we got the call to open for ELO, because our record was number 1 in Birmingham.
Wow. That's a great story. I love that kind of story where you're struggling and then all of a sudden you're there. And a lot of people think, you're an overnight sensation, but there was a lot of effort that went into becoming that sensation with Moonlight Feels Right.
No, for sure. Like I said, we put the group together in 1970. Went through 3 different versions of the groups, and Moonlight didn't hit till 1976. Just from that group, forgetting the years previous to Eternity's Children that evolved into Starbuck. So you're talking an 8-9 year struggle.
8-9 years of overnight success.
That's exactly right. And then forget the 10,000 hours of practice to master your instrument before that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Bruce, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us this morning. My audience, I'm sure, appreciates hearing about the formative years of Starbuck and Moonlight's All Right, or Moonlight Feels Right.
Well, yeah, I enjoyed it, man. It was nice.
Yep.